All right, so the debate in my head still continues about how to introduce, I guess, deadlifting or its variations into my program where you're squatting heavily or with high frequency, high volume throughout the week. So for the last week or so, I hadn't done any RDLs at all, and not by plan, but simply by chance. I've had kind of a run of work in which, like in those days, I don't really do much else other than squat. And then in between days, in between work, I did one day of benching, and then the other day I was kind of tired, so I took an easier day, and then here we go again. Like it's been a whole week without doing any direct posterior work. And then I kind of thought to myself, why is my subconscious kind of avoiding RDLs? And it's this idea that continues within me, and that's I struggle to recover from RDLs when I'm squatting so much. I feel like I've said this before, but there's a massive crossover of muscles used amongst the squat and the deadlift. And so when I squat every day, and then after the squatting part of the session, I hit an RDL or I hit a deadlift, I feel like I'm hitting the same muscle groups again with some difference in loading. So for instance, in the RDL, yes, the hamstrings get a lot of the attention, which is why I do it really. I do it for the hamstrings. But at the same time, my glutes get a pounding as well, as funny as that sounds. I always feel kind of like a pump in the outer glute, kind of glute med area, glute minimus area. And then the following day, I feel really weak, so I can't squat properly. And also the erectors also get some attention. And I'm not, too upset about the erectors getting attention, because I feel like I am now at a level where my mobility is up to standard, and so I don't really get that smashed in my lower back when I'm squatting. However, because there's this crossover between the two movement patterns, I feel like all I'm really chasing here is just attention to the hamstring, because in the squat I never feel the hamstring work. In the squat, things I feel is definitely the quads, especially when I'm doing high bar squatting, high reps. I feel the quads. I definitely feel the glutes, especially with this high rep stuff, especially at the top, man. I feel like just to keep my body erect at the top position, my glutes are continuously working, and then obviously throughout the squat they're working. So the glutes and the quads definitely get killed in the squat, and then when I do the RDL, I kill the glutes again some more, with the aim of hitting the hamstring. And so last night I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, to avoid this overtraining of a certain area, because all of my attention goes to the squat, and so what's left over? The glutes are already fried, and then I can't do the RDL to the same extent because the glutes are involved in the RDL, and so the hamstrings get a suboptimal work in the RDL because the glutes are fried. The saga continues, ladies and gentlemen. I feel like I've been at this question for some time, and so now today, as you can see in the video, or you will eventually see in the video, is that today I got my curl machine up and running again. I got it out, took all the shit that was on there. Hadn't done this in a while, and I did 3 sets of 20 hamstring curls on the curl machine, hamstring curl machine. Now, this is probably the first time you guys have seen me do anything isolation on this channel. In fact, I don't do anything. I don't go to the gym, so I don't really have the equipment. I don't have the isolation equipment machines at home at all, so I solely basically rely on barbell movements for my training. But the hamstring is a interesting beast, because unless your program is kind of like more pulling orientated rather than squatting, your hamstring is probably going to lag, especially in a squat everyday program. You just don't have, like I already mentioned, enough, I guess, capacity to hit the hamstring in a compound movement, like an RDL or a deadlift, because you're already kind of fried the rest of your body. So the squat hits, and I'll say this again, the squat hits my lower back pretty well. It feels pumped when I'm doing the high reps. I feel the glutes and I feel the quads. The only thing that's left is the hamstring. So why not just include an isolation exercise that doesn't tax the rest of these muscles and just hits the hamstring? So this is where I'm at mentally right now. I feel like that's a good move to do. It is incredibly humbling how weak I am in the hamstring. My hamstring gets kind of sort of shadowed by the strong glutes. I've got really strong glutes, and that kind of overpowers my hip hinging movement. So you don't really see the hamstrings lag as much. But for those of you who've ever tried Nordic ham curls, know that I can't even do one off the floor. So I know a lot of these guys who put up videos of the Nordic ham curl on the net. They do a negative, so they start at the top and they lower themselves, and then sort of like after 45 degrees, it's a free fall to the ground, and they flick themselves back up. I've only seen a few videos where the person actually starts from the bottom and basically does a bicep curl on the way up with their hamstrings. I've only seen a few people, and those people are generally skinny, or they don't do it strict. They do it in a sense where, they kind of lean forward a little bit, and the upper leg torso is not a straight line. It's kind of like a this angle, which is fine because I can't even do that. I can't even chip my way up. So I thought to myself, eventually what I want to do is do the Nordic ham curl like a beast, just flat out do it. But I'm nowhere near that level. In fact, even if I do the negatives with the Nordic ham curl, I cramp up after a few reps. So there's definitely a weakness there for me. And I know where the weakness comes from. It's because of the lack of essentially pulling. In my program, it's essentially all squatting, which is my primary goal, and I accept that's programming side effect. So I don't know. I know there's a lot of literature out there, there's a lot of opinions out there, but the experts in the field that doing isolation exercises for the hamstring is really frowned upon, especially in the sporting world, because they say that you run the risk of hamstring tears and hamstring ruptures if you do exercise for the hamstring in isolation and in a vacuum without contraction of the glute. So every hamstring contraction should be accompanied by hip extension. So knee flexion and hip extension should be kind of like coupled. In my case, I feel justified doing this because I'm heavily squatting. So most of my training is hip extension in the form of a squat. So me trickling in a little bit of hamstring isolation, I feel like won't hurt me. In addition to this, I'm not an athlete. I'm not a paid athlete. I don't play soccer. I don't play basketball. I don't play, whatever sport you pick. So I'm not at risk of a hamstring tear. But I know this field, there's experts in the world that just specialize in hamstrings. And the general advice is you should never do hamstring curls, ever. It's just one of those things that it's frowned upon. So that's basically where I'm at with this. So I'll do this every other day. Today I did 3 sets of 20 with 15 kilos, which is a murder. It's a real burnout thing. It's a bodybuilding parameter. So I'll see how it goes. Maybe this will translate to my squat or not. Maybe this will help me or not. I'm not sure. But I think it's a good idea right now because it will basically introduce some hamstring work with sparing the glute and the low back and the rest of it, which is already addressed in the squat. Anyway, that's where I'm at right now. That's the point of this video. Just wanted to justify why I'm doing the hamstring curls. But yeah, it's a problem. If you're squatting every day, it's a problem. How to incorporate hamstring work. Anyway, guys, I'll catch you in the next one.